Welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. I'm Charlie McGrath, your host. It's 22nd day of January, Tuesday. Joining us now is Freeman Burt from Colorado. He's been on numerous times. Always great to have him back on the program. And Eric Lovely is hanging out with us as well. If you're listening on the Rinse Network and you want to join in the chat, you can go to wideawakenews.com, click on the Wide Awake Radio microphone, and join the folks in chat. If you want to watch the live feed of the program, you can see that at Justin TV. There is a link inside the chat room. You can see myself and Eric. Burt is just sending audio tonight, so it'll be just two of us running the live feed. And thanks to everybody else who's listening to us in the other formats that we are broadcasting or being picked up. The stream is being picked up on as well. I appreciate everybody's support. Now let's get into it. I mean, we're keeping the conversation going right through the last break between Eric and Burt and myself, even though between Eric and I, Burt hardly got 2 words in edgewise, but I think that's the way the rest of this hour is going to go. But rather, I'm going to be the one not being able to get a word in edgewise because these two are so like-minded. But, Burt and I were talking right when the music started about what he's looking for as the signs, the big things of change in his region is what's happening on the ground level, I guess, in the supermarket, what's happening with day-to-day life. Now, he's in a bigger metropolitan area than me or Eric, and he was just starting to explain, what he's seeing. So, first of all, Burt, welcome back to the program. I want to talk about your book, Arms, Not Firearms, but it's great to have you back on.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we were talking about I'm not the one that does the grocery shopping. It's usually my wife, and when I go, I tell my wife, like, wow, macaroni, mac and cheese packages used to be $4. She's like, whoa, that was a while back. I've been shopping for a long time. But I'm like, well, but wait a minute. Last time we were here, wasn't ground meat like $2 a roll, and now it's $4 a roll? And because I don't go that often, when I pay attention to some of these products, I'm like, oh my God! It's like, hey, what happened to this other brand that was over here? So, oh, they don't carry that anymore. And I can just see, and this is in King Soopers, how the number of products that are available is shrinking, and the amount of products that they put in the bags or boxes is shrinking, but yet the prices are going up on everything. It's incredible.
It is incredible. It definitely, and I know what you're talking about there. You go by, if you were looking for a 12-pack or a 24-pack of soda, and now you go in. They never used to have 20 packs. What the hell is that? And now it's a 20-pack. It's the same price. So I mean, prices are going up. The hidden tax of inflation, brother. There's no denying it anymore. This is what terrifies me, that we are on the precipice. And people will hear that and think, what is he talking about? Diet Pepsi or some other product. Instead of a 24-count pack, it's a 20-count pack. This equals end of the world. I think Charlie's being a little extreme here. But it isn't just one thing. It's a culmination of things. The hidden tax of inflation has affected us to the point that for the last decade, we've seen annual increases in our sovereign debt of over almost 10%, while we've seen the GDP grow less than 2%. It isn't a matter of looking for when we're going to see a decline in the stock market again. That ain't going to happen. Don't worry about the decline. Don't worry about your up and down and gold and silver and your S&P and the Dow Jones. Let me tell you something. The Dow Jones is going to 14,000. The S&P is going to 1,600. Gold and silver are going to hang around right where they're at, right until this thing doesn't go into a decline. It's going to go into cardiac arrest. It isn't a matter of decline. It's a matter I'm watching for the tipping point. And things like you're talking about, Burt, going in, getting half as much for the same amount of money or even more, and selection starting to whittle down is just one more prime example of control through other means.
It's like we spoke one time about, the fact that, I've been in construction, and, you've been in construction too, and how what people get for their labor in construction has gone down, dramatically.
That's right.
But I speak to other people in other industries, in other areas, and they're hourly rate has also gone down. But then look at the price of everything, how it's going up. So you could, if you used to make 15 an hour and now you're making 10, but then everything else is costing now, 300% more, 200% more than it was just a few years ago, then you're really making like what, like $5-6 an hour?
Yeah. To pretend that pretend the cost of living or your income is keeping up with the cost of living is. I mean, if anybody tells you that, they're a moron. They're completely devoid of any facts, because it isn't the case. And Eric, you can jump in. You can jump in anytime you want. I'm trying to monitor what we got going on here, but sometimes I do a poor job when we have this many. I had a conversation with the guy today to this point, Burt. And I actually bumped into him at the gym. We were sitting there, and we were both done with our workout. We're sitting there changing, ready, trying to get ready to go back to work. And the TV's going, and you have the market starting to close. And the great equalizer in a gym locker room is you're all standing there in your underwear, so you don't know who's a what. I know this guy's a 60-something. He could be a lawyer. He could be a doctor. He could be a judge. I don't know what he is, but he's intently watching the close of the market, and I'm kind of watching what's going on there. And he just starts shaking his head about how it isn't going up far enough, fast enough, and this kind of thing, how it needs to come back. And I said, you know what, this is all a charade. It's all a giant pretend theatrical event. And I said I don't know who this guy was from Adam. I said, because he was all concerned about the S&P. 1,600 points on the S&P, 14,000 points on the Dow. This is what you need to know. I mean, this is what we should be talking about. From $8 trillion in debt to $16 trillion in debt, while the stock market is the exact same point. And he starts going into, we have to fight for austerity. We're spending more than our means. And I'm like, come on, man. The austerity is here. If you don't see it, it's exactly what you're talking about, Burt. Austerity is here when you spend the same amount of money to get half as much, when your dollar goes half as far as it used to. The hidden tax of inflation is austerity. So, people talking about that we have it easy and things are going great, they're regurgitating the line of the mainstream that we're on some kind of sustainable recovery path.
Well, see, we're at a point now that the propaganda that they've been feeding people, it's kind of no longer working. It doesn't have the bite that it used to have on the population. I speak with a lot of people, and a lot of people are in a point right now where they don't want to admit it, but they know things are really bad. And, the more I study, the more I learn all of these things, the more I'm coming to realize that, it's the people's fault. The people themselves have allowed all of this nonsense to happen to this great country. And when the people finally begin to unite, work together, honor God, and try to live by the basic principles of God, whatever your feeling of God is. But, like we spoke last time, that I'm coming to realize that the 10 Commandments are basic points that people need to live by. It doesn't matter what religion you come from. Those are basic universal points. And if you look at the way things operate in this society right now, those points are not being honored. And that's why we're in the situation that we're in.
No doubt about it. Eric, do you want to jump in before we go to break?
Well, I'll say that if you actually take this is the beauty of it, if you take the original common law, the thing that I talk about so much is that you can translate those 10 commandments directly into the common law. Every single one of them is found. Original sovereignty, the idea of original sovereignty that is manifested in the common law actually comes from the 10 Commandments and the Bible, because there is no one above you. Now, if you believe that there is no God, well, then there is no difference. Your sovereignty and ownership of you still lies with you. So, yes, he's completely correct.
We're going to be back with Eric Lovely and Freeman Burt. More Wide Awake News Radio in just a few minutes, guys. Please hang tight. Guys, welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. We have Eric Lovely and, of course, Freeman Burt joining us tonight. And as if you're listening on Justin TV, great conversation going on. And it's nice to have it's nice to have folks who are completely sold out to the freedom of this nation. And even if we argue about some of the tenets of it, it's nice to be amongst like-minded individuals. And just sitting back, listening to both these guys go on, and Gary as well during the break, it was reminds me of why we come out here and why I come out here and do this. Burt, you just came up. You just wrote a book, published it. You sent me at least I thought it was a copy on Amazon. I tried to read the whole thing, and it kind of shut me down. But and you talked about this a little bit the last time you were on. And one thing you typically bring to the program is definition. We play these games, these word games, and we don't know a lot of times what we're entering into because we don't understand the meaning of words. Well, the last time you were on, you talked about the difference between arms and firearms. We don't have the right to bear firearms. We have the right to bear arms. So go ahead and please update us on that. Tell us about this book.
Yeah, well, I have the link to this little, I call it a booklet because it's only like 22 pages, but it's kind of heavy information in there that it will take people a little while to digest all that's in there. They can go to www.onlyfreeman.com, and the link is there. You can get it. I'm putting it out for $3.50, so I think anybody can afford it. And of course, that will give a little bit of funds to allow me to do more research. But
wait a minute. Onlyfreeman.com.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go try to see this now. Hold on. Go ahead. Continue. Sorry.
So anyway, what people need to realize is that whenever you're playing in the legal world, it's like playing in literally another world. You might as well be in Mars, speaking Martian language. So do not believe for a moment that you're going to go to a court and speak everyday English or understand their language as everyday English, because everything is done with legal words. And people need to realize that there's dictionaries that are 3 inches thick that contain nothing but legal language. And in the game of arms, Congress, all those lovely representatives that people vote into office so that they can play these games to take away their rights, in a legislative act, they use words that they just create out of thin air, like firearms. Those are 2 words, fire and arms, put together to create a fictional thing that they can control through fictional laws. So whenever you go to the store to buy an arm, they give you all kinds of paperwork to fill out that you then swear to or sign to, saying that you are buying a firearm. It could be called a goat. It could be called a cow. It doesn't matter. But whatever it is that you're buying, it's a legal term that is being controlled by Congress via all the tons of regulations that they create. And the argument that you see constantly going through the media is people are talking, I have a right to firearms. I have a right to have my firearms. It's like, no, you don't. Firearms are controlled by the United States and all their endless agencies. The Second Amendment does not use the word firearms. It's like, it just cracks me up when I hear the argument about the right to bear arms. And first of all, the Second Amendment doesn't even mention the word citizen. It says people have the right, not citizens. A citizen is a creation of Congress. It's a creation of a body politic. People are not fictional. So when you go to like any of the websites for any of these gun makers, you will see that they sell products. They don't sell firearms, they sell products. But when you buy the product, you say that you're buying a firearm, or you're buying ammunition for the firearm, or you're buying a weapon. None of those words exist in the Second Amendment.
Right.
It says the right of the people to keep and bear arms. It doesn't say the privilege of the citizen to keep and bear arms. It says the right of the people to keep and bear arms. It doesn't say the privilege of the citizen to keep and bear arms. It doesn't say the privilege of the citizen to keep and bear arms. It doesn't say the privilege of the citizen to keep and bear arms. It doesn't say the privilege of the citizen to keep and bear arms. It doesn't say the privilege of the citizen to keep and bear arms. It doesn't say the privilege of the citizen to keep and bear arms. It doesn't say the privilege of the citizen to keep and bear arms. It doesn't say the privilege of the citizen to keep and bear arms. It doesn't say the privilege of the citizen to keep and bear arms. It doesn't say the privilege of the citizen to keep and bear arms. It doesn't say the privilege of the citizen to keep and bear arms. It doesn't say the privilege of the citizen to keep and bear arms. It doesn't say the privilege of the citizen to keep and bear arms. It doesn't to own and buy firearms with a permit. It doesn't say anything like that. And he said, shall not be infringed. It doesn't say it shall not be infringed 99% or 2%.
Is it? I mean, are they escaping somehow, though, the meaning of the Constitution, the meaning of the Second Amendment, by definition? Then, I mean, or don't answer that. We're going to take a break. I want to break that down a little bit more because I want to know how to use that, Burt. I do. I want to know how to use that the difference. And what I probably need to do is spend the $3.50 because it's being so cheap and buy arms, not firearms. And that's available at I got the onlyfreeman.wordpress.com. We'll be back with Burt, Eric, and more Wide Awake News Radio in just a minute. Hang tight. All right, welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. Charlie McGrath, Eric Lovely, Freeman Burt. We're talking about his book, Arms, Not Firearms. And this is the issue when we go to the break and we keep this conversation going. I need to remember all the way back to where I ended the first part at. The question I had, Burt, and I think I said this right when we went into break, is it the destruction of the Constitution via terminology? Is it, and if it isn't, or if it is, how can I use this information to uphold my Second Amendment right? Because, like I think I said in the break, it doesn't matter if it's called a firearm, if it's called an arms, or if it's whatever, however we want to categorize it. If it's being regulated via the government, who determined it a firearm, that is the same thing they're calling a firearm. I'm calling an arm, and I want to use this to defend myself. Go ahead.
Well, one way, Eric just brought up a huge point, and what it is it's all about status. Okay, those important points that we so treasure from the Constitution, even though I personally disassociate myself completely from that Constitution. The more I learn about it, the more I dislike it, and the more I detest it. But anyway, the few points that are good in it are for a status of people, okay? And what the United States Congress has been so great at doing is changing our status from a free people to a controlled person. Okay, they change you from a free man, woman to a status of a fictional person that can be controlled by fictional terminology, and that's what it is. When you go to exercise your right as a people in the status of a free people in a free state, they change you over to a person, which is a United States citizen or alien or whatever legal status they want to put on you, resident, and then you abide by their regulations. And if you talk to anyone that has gone out and bought a firearm, they pay for everything. They pay for the permit, they pay for the background check, they pay for all these things. You're buying a service. Everything they give you related to a firearm is a service. All the information they gather from you is listed in the Department of Treasury in D.C., and all that information is gathered there, and that's a service that they're providing you so that they can keep track of your firearm. Because you said it's a firearm, so it's a service that they're providing to you, and along with that service comes the fact that, hey, if they don't believe that you're properly exercising that service of using that firearm, well, now they can come take it from you or whatever it is that they want to do to you because of it. But you entered into a contract when you bought that firearm, okay? And all those, you're saying, how can you use this information? Well, all the forms that you fill out, people don't realize. Any so-called government form, don't ever fill it out right there in front of the people when they give it to you. Take it home, read it, make the changes you need to make to it, and then have it notarized, and then bring it back with the correct information on it. And if they don't accept it, sue them. You're not required to enter into a third-party agreement with McDonald's just to go buy a pair of shoes. And that's exactly what they try to do to you when you go get an arm. Exercise your right to buy any product.
No, I understand, and it makes perfect sense. Eric, did you want to jump in? I see you moving.
Well, yeah, I definitely I understand the point of view, and since I've been doing this for a really long time now, and we're all aware. Well, I don't know if everybody's aware of the amount of court cases. I started where he is at, and in the comprehension of legalese and so forth, and people need to really understand, really need to comprehend what words like understand and apply, and these different applications, and how you're abandoning rights and property on the open seas, and we can talk about this until the end of the day. This is the reason why I go back to the Constitution for the United States of America, and I have nothing to do with the Constitution of the United States. The Constitution of the United States is exactly as he says it is. The problem is people don't understand this. They're two different documents, and we can go into hours-long discussion about what's different between them. But this is where it really boils down. You can go, and the real process of the original Constitution, okay, the original Constitution actually talks about exactly what he's talking about. Look, take the contract, review it, take it to a notary public. It becomes a writ, okay? This is where I bring up this word writ, and when you change the contract and you actually issue contracts and other versions of writs and have them notarized, they become an authority statement and an authority tool for you to interact. However, the gun manufacturer, the guy who sits down at the end of the street and at the corner, okay, it's going to be a moral decision for him, one way or the other, whether or not he's going to abide by that contract. And even if you do sue him, they're going to take you into where to get your money. They're going to force you to fight it out in their court system, in their Supreme Court system. You're never going to win, because they simply tell you, and I know people have heard it for thousands of times, you don't have standing to bring this argument to the court. In other words, they're telling you you're not a free American. You do not have the right to do what you just did. And this is the focus of my work for the years and years that I've been doing it, as far back as I can remember. And this is where people need to understand that it is time to separate. That don't even interact with the system. Completely and totally separate from the system, because the person with the federal firearms license, okay, he's not going to go to prison for you. He's not going to lose his business for you. He's going to do what the government says. And when you attempt to sue him, he will pass liability from himself to the government, and it will be you versus the federal government. You will no longer be suing him. I've seen this happen so many times, and this is really how it breaks down. When you start fighting these people in the court system, and you can fight from a point of jurisdiction, you can fight from a point of status, which also rolls into jurisdiction. You can fight from a point of view of salvage. It just really depends, but they're just not hearing these things anymore. They don't care anymore. It used to be in the 90s and early 2000s and so forth, you could take these arguments and you could utilize the courts, and you could bog the clerk down. You can still bog the clerk way down in all types of paperwork. You can swamp him over his head, but you're really only prolonging the incident. It's still going to boil down to might makes right. And that's my problem with the situation. That's where I've come in the sovereign movement, is that it really boils down to is they're using the words of trickery to fool the 70 to 80% of the masses who's going to go along with whatever happens, and anyone outside that bracket is going to get stepped on. Okay, we can
70, 80.
Yeah, well, yeah. So,
90, how about 99.9995%?
All right, I was being an optimist. Okay,
he's very optimistic.
Yeah, that is real. But I, just to maybe clarify, Burt. I know you can clarify your own point, but I know you're a proponent of getting out of this system completely, totally.
Well, but see, I'm not quite in agreement with Eric about that. You need to completely disengage from the system, because the more I am learning about the system, the more I'm learning that there are remedies within the system. The problem is that we always approach to find the remedy from the legal point of view through the courts. But the courts are actually also designed to listen to other laws besides legal law. I mean, it's in the statutes. It's in there. I mean, they even talk about the unwritten common law. It's written in the statutes that you have the right to bring in the unwritten common law. But the problem is that we always, first of all, approach these problems by hiring an attorney. And the attorney, of course, always wants to keep us in the legal system, in the legal game, in the legal side of the court. And we always end up before a judge. And a judge is constricted to follow the statutes. But within the court system, there's also a thing called magistrate. And the magistrates can work within the statutes and without it. And I just moved one case out of county court, which is, I learned a lot that, I'm moving up to a higher court where I can actually get in front of a magistrate.
I want to hear about that when we come back. You've taken a case out of county court. I'm assuming this is what, the Jefferson County?
Um,
All right, hold on. We'll be back with. You don't have to answer that because maybe you don't want to. We'll be back with Freeman, Burt, Eric, Lovely, more Wide Awake News Radio. Hang tight. Where am I from here? That was great. No, take it away, boys. I don't know what to. Welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. Eric, Lovely, Freeman, Burt. I wanted to. Before the break, I was talking about, or Burt was telling us about he's moving a case out of county court up to a higher court, and then it all blew up during the, into a different, down a different path during the break. So. Burt.
Well, the point that I wanted to say is that one thing that I'm finding out is that whenever you're in a county court, within their own rules, within their own system, they have a path, they have a way for you to take your case out of county court. Because in county court, and I'm with Eric 100% on this, there is no constitution in county court. It's all administrative. It's all contract agreements, statutes, all that stuff. So you go to county court and you start arguing constitution, they'll laugh at you because it doesn't matter. So where organic law begins to matter is in the higher court, like here in Colorado is the district court, which is the court right below the appellate court. That's the court that you need to be no matter what state you're in. And in that court you actually have magistrate, and in that court you actually have statutes that allow you to bring in common law, allows you to bring in unwritten common law. But you have to follow their procedures to a T in order for them to allow you to do much of anything. And like Eric says, it's not easy. If it was, everybody would be doing it and winning, but it's a fight, and if we had attorneys that had any kind of a soul in them that would help us going down this path, it would make it much, much easier. But, I have neighbors who are attorneys, and they won't talk the law with me. They'll have a beer with me and all that, but if he has, my friend has a buzz, then he'll talk to me about the law. Outside of that, you can't get them.
Well, they're looking to be wards of the state, or ward ownership. That's what they're looking for. That's their whole livelihood, is you becoming a ward of their careship, and them being the steward of your ability within that courtroom. That's how they make their money. It's how they extract wealth, and they don't want to talk about it. And I'm here to tell you right now that the original 13th Amendment, as it was being ratified, okay, they have no standing. They should all really, anyone who claims to be a bar certified lawyer, they are your enemy. Okay, they are actual treasonistic dirtbags that should be tried, convicted, and hung from the neck until dead. That's the reality. People don't want to believe that. People don't want to talk about it. That is really when you start researching and understanding the oath of loyalty that they gave to the British Crown to become bar certified. It's a British accreditation registrar.
The point is that whenever you go to court, what you want to do is you want to try to get in front of a jury, because they're supposed to be people like you. And this is what I tell people: if you're going to go to court, you must be ready and able to present your point to a jury, because that's your goal. Your goal is not with the judge. The judge is just like Ronald McDonald out there throwing burgers at you to distract you. You never want to have a confrontation with the judge. Your goal is to get to the jury. So whatever procedures you have to learn to get to the jury, that's the goal. That's what our goal always should be, is to get in front of the jury, because that's who we honor to be the tribunal, not the judge.
Well, how are you going to counteract now never getting to the jury, because you can be handcuffed, locked away? They don't even have to tell your family. This is we came out as sovereigns. I would say, Burt and me and the work that others like us has done, and we have attacked them in courts. Okay, so what is their response? the NDAA. That's their response to it. Well, if we don't like you, we're just going to arrest you. We're going to stick you under the jail. You're never going to see a jury. You're never even going to see a trial. You're never going to see your family again. We don't have to tell anyone you're here, okay? And we have all authority to do so. And you can scream about the common law the whole way out of your house into the back of the big Jeep, going down the road to the unknown prison, Guantanamo, in the middle of nowhere. This is the reality of where we're at, and it's I realize that the work that I have done and others have done have brought us to this point. But these are the points that I'm attempting to make, that we now need to go beyond. And I can actually, I can point out through common law that to even associate yourself with what they call a persona, okay, that's what a person is. Okay, a person is a persona. It is not a people or an individual, okay? A person in the courtroom is a persona. And you hear the guys from Canada, the Freeman on the land, and they talk about putting the coat on and taking the coat off. If you even interact with it, you have given justification for its existence. You have given justification for its authority. So to interact with your persona is really, really a bad idea. And it never used to be that way. In the first 70 years of this nation, there was no such thing as a persona. Because what a person is, a corporation is simply a persona. It's a fictional created identity.
Well, but see, to me, arguing the straw man in court, I don't even see the purpose in it. I don't see the purpose of arguing that in court. I think the goal is to go to court and try to get in front of a jury and try to get that jury to agree with you. I mean, that's it. I don't see anything else to do in there. And then what I tell people is, when you go to court, by all means, do not get the judge involved in your case, because that's what the judge wants. He wants to be able to control your case so that he can derail you. I had one guy that I was helping. He had the case won. It was just a traffic ticket thing, and the judge tricked him into arguing with him. And then the judge threw him in jail for 3 days for contempt of court. And as they were hauling him away, the cops, turned over to their friends, and they're like, "Man, if he would have kept his mouth closed, he would have won." So those are just basic, kind of basic things, but.
Yeah, and it's interesting listening to you guys talk about this, but I sit back and I wonder if what difference does it make? What difference does it make? I mean, both of you, you're both right. I believe you 100%. It's not where I live. I mean, it's not it's not where I go to conduct business and in the commerce that I live in. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the Constitution meant. The original one or the Constitution of the United States. It doesn't matter what's happened for all these hundreds of years since the inception of this nation. I know where I'm at now, and I might have all the right and inalienable rights in the world, but they're being impeded upon. And coming to a head is what this is going to be tantamount to, as far as I'm concerned. And at the end of the day, most people don't even understand the falsified freedom, right? This word liberty that we're given. Most people don't even understand that is a miscarriage of justice, right? It isn't liberty. We don't have a liberty to have a Second Amendment right or First Amendment right. Liberty is something given to you, granted to you by government. So I guess the frustration I have, especially talking to guys in the sovereign movement, and Eric knows this, and Burt, you probably do too by now, is I don't understand how I'm supposed to use it. Doesn't do me any good. I mean, it makes me the smartest guy in the room. So what?
Well, here's the reality, Charlie, and I'll jump in real quick. Getting to a jury is where you want to be, but if you can move it into a sovereign mindset and a sovereign court, let's take property rights. Okay, well, what is that juror court going to be looking for? They're going to say, okay, you own this property. Where's your allodial title? Show it to me now, or you don't belong here in this court. If you cannot produce an allodial title, then you have no standing in that court. They will take you right back into the legality court. They will take you out of the jure court. Then they will claim fraud charges and everything else against you because you can't get an allodial title. Where are you going to find one? If you want to bring these things to a jury, there are going to be certain products and pieces of information that they're going to require you to produce that no longer exist to the public, that you cannot acquire, okay, by being an individual. They have simply turned off the spigots of devices to aid you. So, I mean, that's why, I mean, and I understand everything he's saying. I agree with him. Okay, I'm not saying he's wrong as far as how the law is supposed to work.
I'm saying you're both wrong. I'm saying you're both wrong. No, listen, Eric.
It doesn't work.
Listen, Eric, and
it doesn't work.
For a second. Listen, I'm going to talk to. I'm going to kick it over to Burt because he's a guest this second hour. I want to give him time to talk about his book. But I'm saying you're both wrong. You're both smart. Big deal. What I mean, I need to. I want to give information to people. I wanted to, wake up to the condition we're in. But you guys are going to be the rightest guys sitting in prison, just right along with me and everybody else who decides that they're going to stand up for themselves. Burt, like I said to you before, I like listening to how you break it down by definition and everything. But I get so frustrated because I know you guys are right, and it's information that it's just for me. I can't, transmit that information into actionable intelligence.
Well, this is what I tell people. You need to start exercising those little bits of information that you know that are true. You need to exercise them. Little by little, you start exercising. And when you begin to become aware of a little bit of the truth, you're going to start reading some of that fine print and all that paperwork that is pushed in front of you. Yeah. And if people would just stop, for God's sake, putting their signature in government paperwork, that alone will cripple the system. Stop signing your children over in the hospitals to the administrative people of the hospital. Stop getting Social Securities for your children. At least I can say my 2 children don't have Social Security numbers. Not very many people can say that. That was one smart thing that I did.
Yeah, and I know you were last time you were on. You were working to get to change your birth certificate of children.
Yes. So I'm learning through their court system that there is actually a way to do that. So I'm trying to perfect some of the system so that I can show people in mass numbers how to do it. But we have to get out of the confrontational state of mind, because that is not going to get us anywhere. As the guy's putting the handcuffs on you, you still have to look at him as a brother, and you still have to try to educate him. But if we get out of the confrontational state of mind, that is going to make things a lot better. What we need to start doing is just practicing what we know. We need to learn to say, no, thank you, I don't want that. No, thank you, I do not consent. No, thank you. If you're going to use force against me, you have the gun, I cannot stop you. I mean, what's the difference between a guy with a badge trying to rob you on the side of the highway or a regular thief? There's no difference.
Right.
To both of them, no.
No doubt, Eric. We got about 30 seconds. If you want to.
Well, see, that's basically I take the different angle. Attempting to do this when the cop comes up to show up, you turn his head into a canoe. That's how you deal with it. That's my opinion.
That's stupid.
I disagree.
That's only going to get you killed, Eric. So,
hey, got to go sometime.
Well, you don't want to advocate, doing that, right? That makes no sense. We want you around, lovely. So don't be, a
lot of people.
Right. All right. Thanks for hanging out tonight. Look kill you. If you're going to get yourself killed, then you're a waste of time, right? You're a waste of time for any help you could possibly be for anybody else. We're going to be back tomorrow night, same time. Please enjoy Jeffrey's coming up. Guys, have a good night. Peace.